Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Comics Della Morte, episode 87. Bigfoot Knows Karate with Casey Allen. It's not Dan today, but hey, we have the other co-creator. And last time I was telling him to get you both on, but hey, at least I could pick your brain because you're brand new on the show.
Yeah, dude, I'm stoked, man. I
Yeah.
saw the interview last time. It was super fun.
Yeah.
Um, Dan's doing a work event, so he's kind of like, get paid a living wage or
Right. I
like talk
understand
about
that.
his comic.
Yeah.
So hey, gotta keep the roof over his head. But
Exactly. I understand that.
I uh I am in my man room with all of my things that my wife allows me to have down here. All
Giant
of my loud
drums, all that
things that my
stuff. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So
Hmm.
all the loud stuff that the kids are like, "Dad, no, no, you can't do that up here." So
Right.
so yeah, man. So how's it going, man?
Going good, going good. But like I said, glad to have you on because a lot of times lately we will have like one creator on the show and not the other one. So it's great to actually like pick your brain and for the audience to get to know you because having two co-writers, it could be challenging at times.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So,
And
oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I was about to charge into it,
Okay.
but
I was gonna say before we talk about the comic and everything, like tell people a little bit about yourself, what made you love comics and want to get into this as like a career.
so I never thought that comics could be something that I could do. I live about 30 minutes outside of Birmingham, Alabama.
Gotcha.
And that being the case, comics happens on the coast.
Oh
New
yeah.
York happens in LA, DC.
Mhm.
Um so the idea that I would ever be able to like write and, put out a comic, you know, what was farcical to me. I never even considered it, even though I loved comics as a kid and I would
Mhm.
write my little comics. Um, I never thought it would be an option.
Yeah.
And then just a few years ago, I met some folks on Reddit, which is a scary, scary place sometimes, but
What's up, sis?
uh,
Thank you for coming by.
it's it's such a you find the right people, and I met
Oh
this
yeah,
group
for sure.
called the Comic Jam, which I'm now kind of helping to lead and do edits and stuff like that. The Comic Jam is an online workshop where we get artists and
Mhm.
writers, and we mash them together. We give them a theme to write towards. The
Oh, that's
artist
cool.
or the writer will get one page script. If you can write a one page script and then somebody comes around and illustrates that one page script, you've made a freaking comic. I don't know your
Yeah.
language barriers
Exactly.
here, but
Exactly.
you
It's we talk about horror comics, so we've
so
had
yeah.
nudity on the show. It's fine.
Okay, cool. None of that for me.
Yeah.
You don't want that. But so you make one page
Yeah.
and then you made a comic, and then you can either go, wow, that fucking sucked, I don't want to do
Mhm.
that again, or you can go, holy smokes, this is the best thing ever, this is the best thing since pre-sliced bread, I want more, how do I do
Yeah.
more?
Right.
And so that's how I met Dan and I did a tribute to the co-creator of Spider-Man and Steve Ditko,
Mhm.
and we really got along doing that. And later on, he went, "Hey man, you want to do a comic?" I also met the co-creator of the other book I'm doing, Voodoo Child,
Oh,
which
nice.
is would probably be right up your alley. It is a Vietnam War based supernatural comic. A soldier is given the opportunity to be the voodoo embodiment of death,
Oh,
and
that's
then
cool.
he not only does he decide to go AWOL out of the army, he decides to go AWOL on his assignment as the voodoo god of death. So it's all about how you if you think about like the hero cycle and all
Mhm.
that. like part of the first thing is refusing the call. This is a whole comic about refusing the call.
Nice.
um, so yeah, yeah. And then so I've done 2 issues of that, and then Dan uh had this drawing on Instagram, and I said, dude, there's a story behind that drawing. And it's a simple drawing of a karate doing a Bigfoot doing a karate pose.
Hmm.
And he was like, yeah, yeah, I got something going. I don't know what exactly, but and I was like, well, when you figure it out, I will be happy to edit. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to edit it because it
Gotcha.
looked so cool. Um, and then he came back later and was like, well, I think I got something. And he shoots me a file, and it's just a massive just screed of what this
Script.
guy's going to
Yeah.
be doing.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I started looking through it, and I was like, well, there needs to be a few other things. Let's let's workshop this a little bit. And I kept adding like ideas.
Hmm.
And eventually he was like, do you want to just co-write? Would you like to co-write with me? And I'd never done that before. It never occurred to me that I could do that, or that I had anyone would need me to do that, because
Hmm.
I don't really think too highly of myself. I don't think you can when you do comics that other people can read and then judge on the internet. But so yeah, he asked me to co-write, and man, I freaking loved every second of it.
That's awesome.
That was a very long-winded answer.
No, it's all right. So, with you being a co-writer, have you ever decided to like just break off and do your own personal like writing all by yourself, or you feel more comfortable doing a co-writing?
Well, this right here is, it's all my basically my story.
Oh, so it's completely you.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
my artist Pete, he co-created like the characters and everything with me, but the
Hmm.
storyline is pretty much like, I'm in the driver's seat. Pete is such an amazing collaborator. I'll send him stuff, and he's like, I mean, yeah, but maybe you could go a little crazier. And I'm like, okay. So
Right.
he'll give me prompts like that. And Dan, also to his credit, Dan, I had a scene that I wasn't too sure about, and I was like, man, this might be a bit too hard in the paint. We might need to dial back a
Hmm.
little bit. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I said, it's kind of gory. He said, more gore. That's all I got from him. And I was like, okay, let's if we're gonna go, let's fucking go, dude. So,
Right.
and by the way, you're posting the Kickstarter up right now on the feed. We are
Yes. Yes.
completely
While we're
funded.
talking,
And
that's awesome.
yeah, yeah. And not only are we completely funded, we have like 27 days left.
Yeah. So,
So
guys, you can still back this for 27 days. Like,
yeah.
get your like. If you can't afford the digital, I mean, the physical book, get the PDF file, anything like that. You know, So with uh Bigfoot Knows Karate, like we haven't had Dan on the show to talk about it, but like give a little bit idea without giving spoilers, like the whole idea, like around this besides what you pretty much said, like the story, why does he know karate, anything like that.
So the backstory is, it's a cryptid warrior. He is in a peaceful place in his life, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden, out of the blue, some people come in and just completely ruin that. The first issue deals with him. He's literally, just enjoying his time. He stops a wolf from eating his little rabbit friends. It's very
Gotcha.
bucolic, and then hunters come in, and he messes up the hunters. All this you can read online on I'll just say they're a global comic online company. Hint, hint. But you can
Yeah, I
also
believe
get
I believe I
issues.
read the first issue. Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure I
yeah.
did.
You You can also go and, if you want the physical copy, you can there is a pack on, the Kickstarter where you can get issues 1 and 2, and right now we're in the stretch goal territory, so you'll get a little bit extra goodies with that, so, like, that's
Awesome.
freaking rad, dude. We're getting into the cool stuff now. I love it. But anyway, yeah, he's fighting the wolf, he's fighting the hunter, and then all of a sudden, this guy pops up, Kung Fu Thulu, and he is he comes in, he's basically trying to take him in. You don't know where he's trying to take him in, but he's trying to capture Bigfoot.
Hmm.
And Bigfoot gets an ass whooping. So does Kung Fu Thulu. And then at the end of the comic, both of them are incapacitated. And then a large, mysterious organization swoops in and grabs them both. So that's issue 1. Issue 1 ends on that note right there. So we're going out of the deep, dark woods, peaceful, bucolic, beautiful scenery into a very antiseptic, industrial, um, like metallic world. It's like a warehouse, and it turns out it's a prison. So
Nice.
we go from that to that, and when you have a a character like Kung Fu Thulu,
Hmm.
who is a several stories tall Cthulhu that obviously he does kung fu.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he wouldn't put it in his name. When you have somebody like that in the story, that huge, that like massive, like where do you go from there? I'll show you. I don't know if it's bright enough.
Oh
There he
yeah,
is
that's
right
awesome.
there. So that is Kung Fu Thulu. He's big, massive guy. He in my head, he sounds kind of like the uh what is his name? The warrior guy from WWF days.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Ultimate Warrior?
he sounds like Ultimate Warrior in my head.
Right, that's awesome.
So just like Hulk Hogan, like that.
Right,
Um,
because he was very
so
energetic and, like, almost, like, yelling to the point where he was busting veins. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, and
Mhm.
that's that guy. He is a total asshole.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
so he comes after Bigfoot in issue 1, and where do you go from there? So you either
Mhm.
have to find somebody even bigger, or you have to write a damn good story to back it up.
Right.
And we're not gonna keep making the villains bigger and bigger until like it's Bigfoot in space fighting a Galactus sized character like that gets boring very quickly.
Mhm.
So you got to figure out a new way to present the story.
Yeah.
And what we did, I think a lot of people were expecting in issue 1 to have just like a punch 'em up,
Gotcha.
but and that's what they got, but there was some story behind it,
Yeah.
and hopefully a story that people want to return to. So in issue 2, you're gonna get that story, and it starts off like there. If you're worried about fights or whatever, there's plenty of fights in this book. Don't worry. He fights a minotaur named
Nice.
Asterion, um, and
Nice
gets
name.
his. Yeah, that I believe that is all Dan. Dan came up with
Okay.
that name. I had something dumb, and then he but, like, so he named the big villain in this issue. I named the big villain in last issue, and, so I came up with Kung Fu Thulu, and, about an hour and a half later, I got a message in my inbox of this big giant green character. I was like, "Holy crap, that's him!" So,
Right? Yeah,
um
I bet that's great to, like, actually you're spending the time to create this character from your mind, and then you just get a artist that gives you exactly what you're looking for, or sometimes even better.
oh,
So
man, like, Dan has been just like a joy to create with, and I
mhm.
think that's why we not just, on the art side, but also just, on the writing side, we pass the ball back and forth, and, are you going to butt heads a little bit? when you write something with somebody else, when you both have an idea for a story in mind? Yes, you will. But like, as far as like, there's a lot, there's give and take.
Yeah.
And I think all of the things that I've given have been like, on retrospect, I'm like, actually, that was a bad idea. Glad you came up with something else.
Mhm.
uh, for instance, in issue one, I wanted Kung Fu Thulu to have a wheeze because he's out of the water, so
Oh,
he'd walk
okay.
around like, but I was reading a lot of like Claremont X-Men at the time, and
Gotcha.
everybody has like a dumb accent,
Mhm.
and on retrospect, I was like, that would like Dan was like, that would take people out of the comics so
Right.
quickly, and he wasn't lying. So,
That's
but
awesome.
yeah. So
So, he was telling you to write, like, more blood, more gore in the book. Like, was it hard for you to, like, really get into that? Or you're like, "Oh, I love horror movies, I love horror stuff. Why not?"
so I like horror.
Mhm.
I mean, my other book is a supernatural horror.
Yeah.
So
It landed.
it came easy
Yeah.
to come up with the scary, with the creepy.
Mhm.
And not only that, but like I was surrounded with stuff about cryptids when I was a kid because my dad was very much a believer in UFOs and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah. Mhm.
So there were all kinds of books around me about like Communion was a big one that he reread several times. And the Mothman prophecies, all that
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Um so cryptids, like I had a little bit of foreknowledge before we started on
Mhm.
this project. Um and it's kind of came to my benefit sometimes because we'll like, oh, we need to show somebody, in this scene, what do you got? And I'm like, ooh, I know.
Well,
So,
it's great too because then people could relate to it on a next level, like if you have people who are into that, even outside of comics, a lot of times they're going to pick up that comic just because they're a fan of that and not comics in general because they want to know what if your story is going to be like on par for what they believe in.
oh yeah. I think we may have, we got a little shit from a a karate dude who I guess got like a black belt when he was 8, so he was really good. But so he's like, well, he's not doing the right stance, and that, I'm like, dude, like it's a freaking Bigfoot.
Right, right.
So like maybe if the Bigfoot wants to do his karate stance like that, you should probably fucking let him because
Yeah,
he'd kick your ass.
yeah. Well, it's hard too because there's so many different fighting styles out there
Oh
that you
yeah,
have to
yeah.
stand. So it's hard to determine. And then just a Bigfoot, I would imagine, you know, he has to use like his height and his weight to his advantage. So it's going to be different.
Oh yeah. And that was one reason that we wanted the villain in issue one to be um so much bigger
Hmm.
because, like if he were fighting anyone else, he'd be like the biggest guy around. But
Oh yeah, exactly.
he's fighting this, big giant green guy. So he kind of
Mhm.
has to it becomes a challenge. Um and at the end of issue one, you see how we kind of got around that. And so we had a lot of fun with that. And um will it happen again? Who knows? It I can tell you it like actually I'm not going to tell you because you got to read the book.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Got
was
to
gonna
read
say,
issue
like,
two.
do you guys have planned, like, extending the comics longer? Like, how do you have, like,
Oh,
a
dude,
ending story? Like, this is gonna
we
be the last book of the series.
no, we have 5 issues planned. We have
Awesome. Glad to hear
a
that.
a massive like it's the build to this
Mhm.
gets bigger and bigger, and it gets weirder and weirder. Like going into the weird stuff is my forte. I love getting weird with it. Um so like one of the proudest sequences in issue 1 was when he's talking to the skull, and
Mhm.
it's kind of like his
I
own
remember that, yeah.
insecurities, like, talking back to him. I was super proud of that. It like, that and, like, the dick joke that I wrote in issue 1
Mhm.
was probably my favorite addition to that book, and, like, not counting Kung Fu Thulu. But, and then yeah, so getting weird with it is, it's what you gotta do.
Well
But
well
5 issues, and
yeah.
then sorry to cut you off.
That's alright.
5 issues, but we also we're planning a side book. So, see the artist right here?
Mhm.
He is coming back, and he's gonna do a book completely, back and front illustrated. Adam Caswell is the artist. He's a fantastic guy. He's doing a cover for issue 2 as well as a wraparound. So it's going to be
Nice.
Bigfoot fighting Asterion, the Minotaur guy.
Mhm.
So I believe it's on the Kickstarter campaign, um, but like on the page. But yeah, yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it has to be weird. I mean, it's literally a Bigfoot with a katana or sword, whatever you wanna call
Yeah.
it. And, yeah, it's not like the typical '80s Ninja Turtles where they're just cutting up robots. No, there's gonna be some gore in it. There's gonna be some bloodshed.
And that is one thing that the rule that we came in with was, if Bigfoot gets hit, he's gonna hurt and it's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
stick. So in issue 1, he gets scratched across the face.
Mhm.
Issue 2 is still there. Like he's still scarred by it. So we wanted to make sure that, he's not hit in panel 2 and healed by panel 6. You gotta make sure that, you respect your audience and let them know, like, just how dire the situation is.
Oh, yeah. It's like, it's a Bigfoot after all. It's no he's not, some vampire that could heal. So, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, he's not like a superhero, he's not Superman. He is he's an everyman if an everyman was a Bigfoot that
Right?
knew karate.
Yeah. So with the Bigfoot, you were saying that you saw the drawing, you're like, "We have to do a story like this." Like, in the beginning, were you planning to have it be more of a comedy, or did you want to go with, like, like a horror gore aspect to it as well?
So Dan initially, because Dan's bread and butter is comedy comics.
Mhm.
He has some several um, comedy line comics, and they're all freaking hilarious. But he was like, "I want to try something different. I don't want to just be." Um, in the realm of comedy. He has a book called Latex Avenger. It's
Yep.
freaking hilarious. Definitely check it out. And it's literally about the hero has a condom on his head.
Right.
So and
Yeah.
it's about the adventures of Latex Avenger and his sidekick, this spermicidal foam lad. Uh, if you're into that kind of stuff, if you're into comedy and like very adult humor, definitely check it out. Don't give it to your kids, but
Right.
it's super fun. But his rule was like, no parody, no comedy. Like the
Mhm.
fact that I got a dick joke in there, it was just like it had to be that good for him to like go, not veto it.
It's like, "This is gonna be gore, but it's gonna be like trauma gore." No. No.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. um,
Yeah.
one another rule is like no nudity because he because I always joke around like, Bigfoot's like he's got to be packing some heat, right?
Yeah, exactly. I
And
mean, I'm surprised they never just decide to do that with King Kong,
I you think, I mean, there is a market for that and people would go nuts about it, but
right? That's funny.
so yeah, Dan was very much like I was like because in issue 1 he loses his clothes
Mhm.
and I was like, "What are we gonna do?" He's like, "He's covered in fur." I was like, See, like, so it's not gonna show us junk. He's like, "No!"
Right. Right.
So, the world has missed out
Yeah.
because
That's
Dan is a prude. No, I'm joking.
that's funny. All right. Well, do you want to talk any more about the comic before we get into like some questions to ask for you, like horror questions, since it's a horror show?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, okay, so definitely check out the comic. You can find links to it online
I got
to
the
read
link in the
issue one.
description.
Awesome. And then just the Kickstarter right now, we're doing really well with the campaign. We have a vote for the first stretch goal on
Mhm.
Dan's Instagram, which is Danomite.
Yep, I got that in the
And
description as well.
so check that out. Um, it's a toss up between stickers or baseball cards. The first one of the stretches we did for the first issue, we
Mhm.
did like the inspired by like the Fleer cards that Marvel did back in the day. We
Yeah.
did both Bigfoot and Kung Fu Thulu, and people dug them. So we're gonna come back and do some of the characters from issue 2 in the
Oh yeah,
same way.
I could definitely see you, like, the closer you get to like the ending of the series, like have all these different trading cards.
Dude, I'm stoked for it. I had so many comic cards when I was a kid. I got the whole I forget what year it was, but there Spider-Man had his own like set
See,
and just like reading.
I don't have a lot of trading cards for like superhero stuff, but I have a lot of garbage pail cards.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's so
Uh,
rad.
yeah.
It's so crazy that the guy that did Moss was the garbage pail creator.
Right.
Yeah, like you don't think those two worlds would collide, but yeah, he did like the grossest set of kids trading cards ever. So
Yeah. Where you just tried to find your name so you could know what you look like.
everyone that had my name, it was like a girl. And I was pissed.
Yeah.
So, but my sister, my sister had one like it was like Leather Heather,
Yeah.
and which is super cool because she was like 12 and it was an allusion to S&M. So I'm sure my parents were thrilled when they had that when they saw it stuck to our little table in our bedroom.
Right.
They're like, no, that shit doesn't fly. You don't know what this means, but yeah, let's take this off.
That's awesome.
But yeah, right now in the campaign, we're at we're 208% backed, I think.
That's awesome. Congrats on
We have
that.
20. Thank you, and thank you to everyone who's contributed because, I mean, this is us wanting to put out like the best book possible and give you guys a good story. So thanks for all the support and just all of the good vibes that everybody's been giving us because it's one of those things when you're going to be doing it and you if you are a creative person, like if you write, if you draw, if you do music, whether you have an audience or not is inconsequential. Like you have to do it. You're driven
Yeah,
to do it.
exactly.
Um but getting like validation from other people that like, oh, I want to support this because I like what you're doing.
Mhm.
That shit is gold.
Oh,
Like
yeah, especially if you
it's
have people coming back for the second issue because they love the first one so much.
exactly. It's such a crazy feeling knowing that like people appreciate what you're doing. It's like this dumb
Mhm.
idea that I thought of while I was in the shower or uh like on the can and people like, oh really, and they'll get really specific with it and they'll like dissect it. And it's so weird. We on issue 1 we had a roundtable with people that read the book, other creators, podcasters, and they got to ask us questions about it. And it's on a YouTube link that you can access if you have the extended edition issue 1. There is a QR code. You just get on the QR code. You can go to the website. It's on YouTube, and we talk for the book about 2 hours. I didn't know that there would be 2 hours worth of discussion about this book,
Hey,
but
when you get a group of people and everybody has, like, their own, like, part of the book that really stuck out to them, it could last for hours.
Exactly, and, like, r really well presented questions, you're like it makes you think about where you were at when you wrote it, what
Mhm.
you were thinking about when you wrote it, and also, like, you're like, "Oh, I'm not a dumbass." I'm like, I'm
Right,
actually doing
right.
stuff that people are putting some thought into.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's always fun, and I'm sure everybody watching this right now are like, "No, actually, Casey, you are a dumbass." But
That's cool. So, yeah, everybody, the link is in the description. They I have a link to Dan's link tree as well because on the website that's where you could find out more about like everything that's going on. And you were saying the book is on there to read online because I'm trying to
yes,
remember. Yeah.
yes.
Hmm.
Um,
Awesome.
but, yeah, definitely check us out, check out the Kickstarter. I'm super stoked for this. We have 27 days left. Um, so, if you got a little itch for, spending some extra dough on something
Hmm.
and you want to help an indie comic get made and, hold it in your hands and read it, oh my gosh. And Dan is such a he doesn't go about this lightly. He doesn't do anything half-assed.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say who. I got an indie comic the other day from a creator, and it had a beautiful cover. I was stoked to read it, and there was a lot of fanfare behind it, and I got it, and it was just like it wasn't put together. You could tell it was like, oh, I just did this in Photoshop or whatever, and they didn't really take any extra attention to detail, and it was
Hmm.
such a bummer because
That's why I'm mad that people are starting to try to do the whole AI artwork with comics. No, that pisses me
no, no,
off.
not at all. Yeah. Yeah, people really like Dan breaks his damn hands on this book. Dan
Hmm.
does, not only does he co-write, but he does the art.
Yeah.
If I did the art, you guys would not wanna read it. Um, but, yeah, so Dan, like I said, he is a graphic designer by
Hmm.
trade. That's like what he does. So he's not going to go about it half-assed.
Oh yeah,
Everything's gonna. I mean, issue one, like, look at that, just the
it's
title
amazing.
page.
Yeah,
It's
that title
beautiful.
page just really is great.
Not an ounce of fat in this book. Even look at the back page right there. That's the back page. It's a pinup that kind of coincides with issue two. Not
Mhm.
kind of. It definitely coincides with issue two. Um, But, yeah, issue 1 also had a ton of fan art at the end, because people see this, big furry guy, and they're like, I want to play with this sandbox. I wanna play in the sandbox."
Right,
So,
because it's one of those things, it kinda reminds them of their childhood, you know?
yeah, yeah, and, I mean, dude, we had, like, jaw hitting the floor with,
Mhm.
like, some of the fan art in issue
Oh,
1.
yeah,
This
that's
is the
awesome.
for the deluxe edition. I mean, Andy Bloor, Joshua Flower, um, Jevin Loop, who is going to have a cover on issue 2.
That's
Uh,
cool.
Robert Johnson, just fantastic. Uh, Jerry Cooley, this like blows my mind.
Mhm.
Luis Thomas, uh, Zip Algeria, Dennis Valencia. I mean, top tier talent.
Yeah.
I love the Roland Wakefield pinup.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I know I didn't do artwork for Bigfoot, but I did artwork for Halloween Man meets Latex Avenger. That was fun
is
to
that
work on.
is that not a fun book, dude?
Oh, yeah. It's really
It
awesome.
is so ridiculous and such a good dude. Drew Edwards is a prince of a man. He is a
Mhm.
good dude. Um, so yeah, a really good guy to chat with. And just I mean, just like Dan. Dan is top tier talent and
Oh,
just
yeah.
a top tier dude.
Yeah, it was
Um,
awesome to have them both on the show. So anyone
yeah,
who I think it was back in episode 75, you could rewatch that who hasn't have it, and just it was great to have them both on.
did you have a chance to talk to Paulo Hernandez?
No, I
Hernandez.
haven't.
That's his name.
I want to.
Yeah, super good guy,
Yeah.
and he has a really good head on his shoulders, and just as far as like knowing like super good artist. So
Mhm. So with, Dan, he's have you done cons? Have you gone out and done stuff? Because I know Dan does that a lot.
Dan does. I haven't had the opportunity to yet. I want to eventually.
Mhm.
I'm married with 2 kids. It's hard to get away and do the con
Oh,
thing,
yeah, I understand that.
but I'm hoping to. There's one. I live in about 30 minutes outside of Birmingham, Alabama, but
Mhm.
there's a really good convention in Huntsville that I'm wanting to schlep some comics at soon.
Gotcha.
So I might be doing that, and then Dan and I are hopefully going to meet up at a con next year. So that's my goal. I feel kind of like a big like lazy turd, just having him go to the cons,
I
and
gotcha.
I'm just like sitting at home out in the
It's a
woods
it's a
walking
lot
the
of
dog.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I honestly think he enjoys it.
Mhm.
It's I've only been to one convention, and
Mhm.
even then is, "Hey, Rob, how's it going, man?" Rob Toll is a fantastic artist, and a
How you
member of the
doing?
Comic Jam. So, like, just top tier guy. Um,
Sweet.
so, yeah, yeah, we do Dan does the conventions. He loves it. I've only been to one convention, and I went because there was my wife and I were really big into like the ghost hunter shows at the time. It was like the early 2000s.
Right, right.
And we went to see them, and there was a demonologist that did a presentation, and that was interesting. But that we met Chewbacca, which was kind of cool.
Nice.
Um, Not planning on meeting Chewbacca at all. My buddy and I that were there, we dragged our wives to this
Mhm.
convention, and we kept nerding out over the Star Wars people dressed up. And we're like, "There's Boba Fett! Look at that Stormtrooper!" We were 7 again. We were stoked. And then this
Oh, yeah.
big giant guy walks by us, and my wife looks at me and goes, "Who's that supposed to be, Chewbacca?" And he stops dead in his tracks and turns around. He said, "Actually, yes, I am Chewbacca." And, just super, nice, pleasant guy.
Mhm.
He had his lightsaber cane and everything, and his handler was just kinda like, I think, trying to get him from point A to point B, but,
Gotcha. Yeah.
he stopped for a second and said hey to my wife, and my wife was immediately just like a fan. Like,
That's
it
awesome.
was it was one of those things where you're just like
Right? That's cool. So now we're like into 38 minutes. So let's hop in some of the horror questions. Rob, if you don't know, besides talking about comics, this is a horror comic show. So we talk about like horror movies and all that fun stuff because why not talk about it all year round instead of around October? That's not any fun.
Exactly, exactly. So right now, I've been boning up on my horror movies. I have
Hmm.
watched both Hocus Pocus 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So anything you have, I'm joking. I have watched both Hocus Pocus 1 and 2. But we watched X last night. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I
It's Ty
have.
West.
Hmm.
Um
Been keeping up with
Completely,
the Chucky TV show. That was really nice.
I haven't seen, is it worth the effort to
Yeah, it
to check
is.
it out?
Yeah, yeah. Because it's not because the writer and the director is the creator of the Chucky.
Oh,
So
really? He's
you
getting another
you
bite at the apple.
yeah, like don't want to give too much away, but you get to see like what made him want to become a serial killer. So you
Oh,
get to
cool.
see that backstory. So yeah, but great stuff. Great stuff. CGI, not more CGI, but for the show they use puppets, so you get a
Nice.
feel that it's not just a bunch of CGI crap like a lot of horror movies do today.
Yeah, yeah.
So busting into horror movies, what was the first horror movie you saw as a kid?
Okay, I'm trying to think. Um, th My parents, I remember distinctly watching Pet Cemetery with my folks, um, and that, creeped me out big time.
Mhm.
Um, and I think Pet Cemetery 2 was the first time I saw boobs on a movie with my
See,
parents.
that was me with,
Formative,
Dream
very
Warriors.
formative. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Dream Warriors was the first time I ever saw a naked woman,
Like that.
and I'm glad that they never decide to go with the route, because when you watch the behind the scenes, they originally wanted to put, like, Robert Englund's Freddy Krueger mask over her naked body. I'm
Oh my
like, "No,
god, no.
that would've ruined a lot of people's
That
childhood."
would rewire some things in your brain that you just don't
Right,
wanna know.
right.
So, yeah, that very formative. But, yeah, so there was an anthology that my folks had rented,
Mhm.
and they didn't know I was up, and I was in the hall, like, watching around the corner, and I do not remember the name of it, but it's these kids, like, take over this island. I think there was a shipwreck or something, and they're these
Oh, yeah,
sailors,
I can't remember the name, but I know
and
what you're
they're
talking about.
playing hangman with a sailor who's, like, hanging
Mhm.
from a thing,
Yep,
and they're, like, pinning his, like, body parts onto him or something. It's
yeah.
really, like, fucked up. That, that one was just like, "Whoa." That was a little bit too much for me.
Well, yeah,
But
like, it's an old movie, people, so if you haven't seen it, but, the chubby kid, that was really heartful when you seen the way he died.
I was
If we're
actually, like,
talking about
25 when I s no, I'm joking.
yeah.
It really messed me up. My mom had to console me for she's like, "I really want you to move out, but first we need to get over this."
Right?
No, no, I was, like, maybe, like, 7 or something,
Gotcha.
but
So
maybe
y
younger.
so you that was the first movie you ever saw, Pet Sematary. Now, over the years, is there, like, your favorite horror movie of all time? And it doesn't have to be, like, the typical, like, horror movie. It could be, like, a comedy. Like, one of my favorite horror movies besides John Carpenter's The Thing, my favorite horror comedy would be Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Still
I
my
was just
classic.
talking to my wife about that because my
It's
oldest
a video
daughter is.
game.
Oh, there's a video game? See, I'm not a gamer.
Yeah,
I'm totally, like, in the
they're
dark about that.
they're coming out with a horror, multiplayer. So, you are either gonna play as 3 killer clowns fighting humans, or you get to be the humans trying to kill the clowns.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool as shit.
And it's from the creator, the producer of Friday the 13th, where you were able to play as Jason killing the counselors, or the counselors trying to kill Jason, or find a
That's
way to
awesome.
escape. So, yeah,
So
just a classic movie. Love that
that
movie.
movie, it's essential. It's a horror movie. It's a comedy that's so goofy in it, but it's got scary elements.
Mhm.
They married those really well together.
Oh, yeah.
We had the same laundry basket as uh, a character in that movie, and there's a scene
Mhm.
where like the popcorn starts coming out of the laundry basket, and then
Yeah.
an alien pops out. Scared the shit out of me. So
Yeah.
I would every time I would go into the bathroom with that laundry basket in there, I would put it in the closet.
Nice. Yeah.
So it really creeped me out. Um, yeah, that I as far as like favorites, I'm not a big fan of like the slasher genre, which
Okay.
is silly because we watched X last night,
Mhm.
and X was like I really enjoyed it. I love Ty West movies though. I really liked The Innkeepers. I liked House of the Devil. The VHS anthology was really good. I've always
Yeah.
enjoyed those. But it, I like the supernatural horror
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Uh, Favorite horror comedy would probably be Shaun of the Dead because
Classic.
they
They did
did
a
so
really good
many.
job with that.
Yeah, and just like Killer Clowns, they married the 2 genres really well together. I think they worked
Mhm.
well together anyway, but,
Yeah.
they sometimes you forgot that you're watching a comedy movie
Mhm.
because especially when they start pulling the guy apart, when they're in the bar at the end of the movie, you're like, "Holy
Oh,
shit,
yeah,
that
the
was."
pub, yeah, mhm.
Yeah, that was, like,
You
that
felt
was
bad for him,
extra.
but you're like, "He kinda deserved it too."
Exactly, exactly. Um So, yeah, my wife loves the Texas Chainsaw films. Um, We saw the new one not long
That's
ago.
becoming a video game too.
So that would be fun.
Yeah. You could either
That
play as,
sounds like it'd be super fun.
Leatherface or one of the family members.
My favorite was the guy with
People,
the
yeah.
he, like, scratches his, plate in his
Oh,
head.
yeah, from the second movie.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I think that the second film is my favorite, of them all, just because, like, you get into the family a little bit, and it again, it has, like, a lot of really good comedy elements. The first one, man, I never rooted for anybody to die more than the guy in the wheelchair, and I felt terrible about it because he was just, like, such a whiny dude. It's like,
Yeah.
"Come on, man." I'm gonna get canceled for that shit.
No,
He used to
it's one
get
of those things that with horror movies, you root for the killer, they kill the jerk in the movie because he's
Yeah.
just an asshole.
Yeah, he wasn't really a jerk. It was just like it was a learned helplessness that all of the disabled people that I know do not possess. And
Yeah.
it maybe that was like a little bit of like backwards thinking on like the writer's part
Mhm.
when he wrote it. And I'm wondering today if they wrote the same character, if they would present him any differently.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the few people I know who are like confined to wheelchairs are freaking badasses.
Mhm.
Um, one of them is actually a Paralympian. He he
That's
got
cool.
injured in high school and cannot move from the waist down.
Mhm.
And during the when the Olympics were in China, uh, uh, 15 years ago,
Yeah, seems
he
about
went.
right.
Yeah, yeah, he went and did the, like, one of the races. He's a wheelchair racer, and it's freaking amazing. Um, but, yeah, that character in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, though, was kind of annoying because
Mhm.
it was also one of those things, like, it's just a matter of time for this guy's gonna get it.
Right.
Um, I really like, I like the supernatural horror, I like ghost stories, stuff like that.
What's your favorite, ghost horror movie?
I I was thinking about this the other day because, again, I'm trying to find something that my 11-year-old can watch with us,
Mhm.
and, The Others was really well done.
What's that?
Um, The Others?
Oh, yeah, The Others, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's, probably about 20 years old now, but,
Another a horror comedy with ghosts, Frighteners, that was a really good movie with Michael J. Fox.
everybody sleeps on that movie, and it's so
It's a
good.
really good movie.
It's such a damn shame because, not only is it a Michael J. Fox movie, it's also directed by the guy that did Lord of the Rings,
Mhm.
um, and, it's so well done.
Mhm.
Uh, the the side characters in that movie are really well realized and
Oh, yeah.
kind of add a lot to the movie. The two
Mhm.
ghosts that kind of help him out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Frighteners so good.
Mhm.
Um, I like. I've been a real fan of like the Haunting of Hill House, those TV shows,
Yeah.
and so my wife and I, like, actually, my wife within 10 minutes of that show was like, "Nope. I can't watch this." So I had to watch it alone, and,
Oh,
oh,
yeah, why didn't I
Beetlejuice.
that's a classic right there.
Beetlejuice is the best. My wife and I actually went to a bar in Nashville, last year because it's, the Kung Fu Saloon. They had a secret, like, speakeasy room where
Mhm.
if you knew the code, you could go in, and, it's all Beetlejuice themed,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
yeah, yeah, it was so fun. Everything, even the drinks and the menus were Beetlejuice themed. Um, and actually, when I was in my early 20s, one of the actors from Beetlejuice, you remember Otho? Not
Yeah,
Otho.
Ortho.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He he lives in Alabama or lived. He passed away since, but
Yeah, yeah.
I had to move him into his new home when he moved back. And, he
Oh,
was
that's
such a good
awesome.
guy. He told us stories about Tim Burton and about working, with, Sylvester Stallone
Mhm.
and,
He also did that movie, the Stephen King movie where he got killed by the man that could turn into a cat person.
The
I
cat
can't remember.
people?
Yeah,
Yes!
yeah.
That, was it was that the name? That was
I
such
can't
a
rem
weird.
I can't remember if it was cat people, but I remember, you know, they could turn into, like, cat demons and turn invisible, but cats were able to see them and cats were able to kill them. But great movie.
Yes. Yes, that, I saw that a few years ago, and I was like, "That this is such a fucking whack ass movie."
Mhm.
It was
Most
nuts.
horror movies are like that, especially when it came to the '80s and '90s.
Yeah, yeah. So, are you a
Sleepwalkers,
big
yeah, that's
Sleepwalkers? Yeah,
yeah.
Rob coming
Mhm.
in with a clutch answer. Um, so are you a big Hellraiser fan?
Yes, I haven't watched the new one yet.
I've been wanting to check it out. Um, I've not honestly, I'm not a huge Hellraiser fan. I
I'll put
always
it
thought it
this way,
was
I like the movies, but the comics, it's one of those things like I love horror, but I don't like when you just put a bunch of horror in there for no reason, like you're just there for the shock value.
yeah, yeah.
So when you have like that torture porn, or I always say it on the show, when you got movies like The Human Centipede, that's just there for a wow factor, and yeah,
It
it's
I'm not
crazy.
a big fan of that either. Um, as far as, like, Clive Barker stuff, I really like Nightbreed. Nightbreed
Oh,
was
not
such a and
yeah.
I don't know that people appreciate it as much as it should be
Oh,
appreciated.
Nightbreed's great.
Yeah.
Just not just the concept, but the character designs were like really far
Oh,
out
they
there.
they went hard in the paint on that shit, dude. They did
Hmm.
so many good character designs and just the overall creepiness, and it was like most of them just wanted to like, live and be left
Hmm.
alone, and
I
so
think
you
I don't know about a book series, but I know they did a comic book series where Hellraiser and Nightbreed met each other because they're part of the same universe, actually.
yeah, yeah. Uh, I I would definitely wanna check that out. I'll have to
Mhm,
look that up. Um, Hellraiser, like, it's fun. Like, the first movie was fun. It was not fun. It was cool. It was fun to
mhm.
watch. Um,
Especially the
but
transformation of the uncle coming back.
that was just, like, yeah, over the top, like, gore and just like,
But again, if you tried to do that CGI, it wouldn't look as great.
no, not at all, not at all. Like, the fact that they did that practically, like, just yeah, is super good.
Mhm.
And the Cenobites, though, always, like, bother me because it's so, like, almost edgy and, like, in a bad way.
Yeah, like Chatter.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's just tell me you don't know how to fuck without telling me you don't know how to fuck.
Right? But
But
some of the lines in that movie were just so good. It's like, uh, was like demons to others and angel. It's not actually, I'm a butcher it, but basically talking about how we're angels to others and demons to other people, something similar like that.
yeah, yeah. I'll definitely have to check out the new one 'cause I've seen some of, like, the pictures behind it, and it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely different. But a lot of people had problems that it's a female. I'm like, if you read the original book, it it's basically like a female character, but with a male voice. So, you know,
Yeah, yeah. Like and also it got the nod from the original guy, so, like,
mhm,
what else do you need? Like, if
exactly.
yeah, so,
So
uh,
I know you said you don't like slashers and everything, but if you had to pick your favorite slasher of all time, who would it be? And it doesn't even have to be the 80s.
I mean, thinking about it, would would The Devil's Rejects count as a slasher?
I,
I
I,
really enjoyed that film.
that was a
Um,
good film. Why not? Because when you think about it, you don't have to pick like even Leatherface. You could just say Leatherface's family because
yeah,
they're all
yeah.
slashers.
The as much as I was saying, like, like, talking about something was needlessly edgy, I really did enjoy, The Devil's Rejects. I thought it was, um, really well done, and,
Yeah, and I would love I don't know if Rob Zombie ever plans to, but just to have a movie dedicated to, like, the origins of Doctor Satan would be a great movie.
oh, yeah, yeah, that would be have you seen okay, so you said you saw X already, right?
Mhm.
Have you seen the previews for Pearl,
Yeah,
which is the origin that so I almost think that looks better than X. Like,
yeah,
I'm my wife was like,
'cause
"Oh,
I think
shit,
now
we're watching that."
they have more funding because the movie was just such became so good, and a lot of people loved it.
And speaking about funding, like, I saw so many things in the X movie where it was like, "Oh, you can tell they didn't have a huge budget because they're getting really crafty with the camera shots."
Mhm,
And that's one thing where as, like, horror fans will know this, like, you're having to squeeze blood from a stone,
mhm,
with every little cent you have. So when if you don't have money, you gotta get crafty.
yeah,
And there were so many really cool shots. There was a shot, um, it actually made me think about like the advent of drone technology
mhm,
for film, like not having to rent a crane, not having to rent lighting and stuff like that, where you could kind of affect it digitally, has probably done so much for independent film.
Oh, yeah,
But
especially if you're, like, trying to do something where it takes place in the woods, and you could use a drone to, like, get those shots that you would have to use with a plane. Yeah,
yes. Yeah, it was fantastic, and there's a really good drone shot. There's another shot where, it was just like a low, shot out of the way, so you could tell something was going on in the other room.
mhm,
I know exactly what it was. The television is to the right of
gotcha.
the screen, and it's at an angle, so it looks stretched and distorted, and then in the back, you see, I think there was, like, a fight or something or somebody's getting killed, and it
Mhm.
looked really cool. Um, so yeah, just in independent horror, low budget horror, like, when they get crafty like that, I'm just like it really spins my brain. It makes
But see,
me,
that's
like
why it's so great because, sure you have, like, the 2 big hitters, DC and Marvel, but the indie comics, yes, there's superhero coming out, but the indie comics, they're really rocking the horror genre right now.
oh, yeah, yeah, and uh, so many just super talented people just going, making do with what they have and just
Yeah.
killing it, just knocking it out of the park.
Yeah. Most
So,
horror movies don't need a big budget, especially if it's nothing having to do with, like, ghosts or stuff like that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You secure, like, the one location you need, and then
Mhm.
you have a team of people eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and just
Like Wrong Turn.
get it done. Exactly, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and in the sequel, you could get Henry Rollins.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Well, did you as a kid, did you watch, like, any horror TV shows? I mean, I don't know how old you are, but
I'm
I'm always happy that besides superhero stuff, like, one of the big, like, comic book versions went to a movie was, like, Tales from the Crypt. Loved that show as a kid, and a lot of people who love that show don't know it was part of a comic book series.
Yeah, I'm 53, so no, I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm 40. But, so I grew up we would watch there was a show called, uh, Monsters.
Yes, classic right there.
That was great.
Great
We would watch
intro.
the f yes, that was rad, and there was the Freddy Krueger Presents
Yeah.
TV show or, like, the Nightmare
Yeah,
on Elm Street TV show.
Freddy Krueger's New Nightmares.
That's it. Yeah, that was
Mhm.
super good. My folks were huge into the X-Files, especially
Yeah.
my dad because he's a big UFO like, he believed he was abducted by a UFO.
And
Um,
even R.L. Stein's, like, Goosebumps were really good.
see, I grew up, like, I missed that somehow. Maybe I was a little
Anything
older.
hor I
Eh
mean, you said you're 40, you're only 3 years older
yeah,
than me, but,
okay.
So it's just anything horror related, I watched as a kid. So I was like not even 10 years old watching like all these horror movies. Like I wasn't even 10 watching like Candyman and then doing it in the bathroom, not getting scared.
Let me ask you this, and this isn't like this is a more recent show. Did you ever watch the Channel Zero?
I didn't get a chance to.
Oh my god, dude. Go back, especially season 1. Um, when you're talking about, like, operating with not that big of a budget.
Mhm.
So, Channel Zero had art design by, let me look up the name. There's um, an art film called Transfiguration,
Gotcha.
and it's a French artist, and, he gets clay.
Mhm.
Olivier de Sagazan is his name. He'll
Gotcha.
get clay and just put it over his face and just put it on, and it looks creepy as hell.
Mhm.
And then at the end of it, when it becomes unbearable, when he can't breathe, and this is over the course of like an hour, maybe even longer, he'll get paint and clay and straws and just add on and build and build and build. And at the end of it, he's just shaking it off of him. And it sounds like animalistic. It sounds guttural and just like almost like an inchoate rage just coming out of him. And it is both beautiful and terrifying. Look up this piece. It's on YouTube. Olivier de Sagazan. I'll send you a link to it, if
Awesome.
you would like.
Oh yeah. Please
But
do.
I'm sure Rob Toll knows exactly what I'm talking about. But for Channel Zero season 1, they had de Sagazan as a like one of they had him to help do the designs for the the villains.
Mhm.
And there's one scene in particular on like the last episode. He's actually in it as one of like the demons, and it
Nice.
is beyond creepy. There is a creature made out of teeth that's one of the
Ooh.
villains. It's Oh, thanks, Dan. Yeah, yeah. I was getting a little shaggy, so I had
What's
to
up,
trim it
Dan?
down. But yeah, yeah. So Olivier de Sagazan. Oh my god, dude. Yes. Check out Channel Zero. It's so good.
Nice. Well, we're past the 1 hour mark and it's been fun. And I appreciate you coming on. Like, do you have anything else to promote? Like besides the Kickstarter? Like,
Actually,
uh,
no, you guys actually, instead of that, no, I'm joking. Go out and watch Channel Zero now. Fuck the comp. No, I'm joking. Um, go out, go to Kickstarter right now. Like Dan just messaged me a minute ago. We got a new backer. Um, and so we're at 90 backers, which is rad.
awesome.
And still 27 days to go. So I'm so stoked to be on this project and like help us to put this book out. You're going to be entertained. You're going to be thrilled. You're going to get maybe grossed out a little bit because we get kind of crazy with the gore sometimes, but it's the whole point is to do a good story and to write a book that I would want to read, and like no half measures at all with this book. It's going to be probably the nicest book that you will hold in your hands because Dan is has such a great attention to detail.
Yeah, he does.
He's not going to half-ass it. I mean, like I showed you a minute ago, issue 1 is just a
Draw,
beautiful thing to
drawing,
hold.
drawing fur in general is just hard to do.
If you like the art on this cover right here, that same artist, Adam Caswell, is going to be back for issue 2 for a wraparound piece. And yeah, just like the tactile feel of issue
Mhm.
1 is fantastic. I'm It's hard for me to be a digital reader because
Yeah.
you want to. It's hard to curl up with your phone or a tablet and
Mhm.
enjoy your book. I mean, I do it sometimes, and if you want to buy digitally, that is a package we have on there. But just the tactile feel of comics is so good because
Gotcha.
you can love it, you can hug it, you can smell it. It's
Mhm.
good. That was creepy.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Casey, for coming on. You're more than welcome, as always, to come back on. Not even just to do a Kickstarter, but like if I have like a topic, like, oh, we'll just talk about like this type of topic in general. Like, I know I want to get like different people on to talk about like just all zombies related or just anything like that. So I'll hit you up.
Dude, for real, I would be down for coming on. I enjoyed it. And I would love to shoot the hay with you back and forth. So,
Oh yeah, especially with once I see like the prequel to X, we'll definitely have probably a lot to talk about.
oh man, yeah, yeah. And X was a super fun book, super fun film.
Mhm.
The prequel looks like it's going to be even better. And Ty West
Oh
is
yeah,
such a talent.
yeah.
Like, yeah, definitely check out his Western was good. I like his Western. I forget
The
the name.
actress, she's just such a great job. She did such a great job playing the young girl and then the old woman.
Yeah, well, she was in the I think she was in
I believe
Suspiria,
so. Yeah.
the remake, which was way better than it should have been.
Hmm.
I love the original, but she's a talent.
Yeah.
That Southern accent threw me at first. I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh my gosh, she sounds like she could live down the road from me."
Gotcha.
But yeah, you guys, Bigfoot Knows Karate issue 2, come out, check us out. We are on Kickstarter. We have a whole 27 days. So go online, check us out. If you have any questions about anything book related or whatever, I'm at Robot Seat Guitar on Twitter and Instagram. Dan is Danomite. So check us out. We want to sell you comics. We want to be your friend. We want to talk about comics because we love comics. So yeah, let's get this thing going.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on. Thank you, everybody in the chats. See you next time. Peace.